Hey, thanks for being here. How are you? I hope you're doing okay over there on the other side of the screen. So, today I wanted to talk about Mercury and the week that it's going to have between the days of the 6th of July to around the 12th. I try to do the forecast between Monday and the next Sunday. So I start on my new forecast every Monday. That's why it's not a full week. So what will Mercury be doing? It's a powerful week for navigating how we're vulnerable with our perspective, and it will be possibly, if it's accurate, forgot to say, these are all my interpretations. It may or may not be legit. We just have to wait and see what resonates. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. If it resonates, then I'm really happy about that. For real. So what sort of shenanigans will Mercury be up to this week? Mercury will be separating from its conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer. The closest that Mercury went to an exact conjunction with Jupiter was around June 23rd-ish, where it went conjunct before it went retrograde, so it never made it to the exact point of the conjunction, but it was pretty close. I actually took a look at it, and basically what Mercury conjunct Jupiter did was give our mind a prime for being able to really look at emotional entanglement, because Mercury is the great organizer, Jupiter is the higher perspective of the big picture, and Jupiter in Cancer really highlighted the vastness of the subjective internal experience. So Jupiter in Cancer sort of felt like the maze of the emotions. Like, oh, I didn't even know I had these coping mechanisms. I didn't even know I was codependent because of insert past experience here. That's Jupiter in Cancer. It wanted to give us a really deep understanding of our emotional boundaries and how we build walls to keep people and things out, because Cancer is about safety and security, but Jupiter is about expanding. So Jupiter in Cancer was a little bit like Saturn in that way, where he was like, yeah, I know you want to expand. The ideal thing would be to expand and grow, but you got to feel the confines before you can really expand past them. So this would have been like hitting emotional walls, Jupiter in Cancer, before breaking them down. So when Mercury went conjunct with Jupiter, we may have noticed people shutting down emotionally in the face of tough conversations. Like, oh, you expect me to process this? It's really feeling overwhelmed when looking at the bigger perspective, because Jupiter's like, look at this. This is big. You have the capacity to feel everything. You know, humans are so deep. Jupiter's there with his clipboard studying humans as a species like we're aliens. He's like, wow, they can really feel shit. That's cool. What if we throw this at them? What will they feel then? It's that kind of energy of Jupiter pushing on our emotional boundaries. And Mercury, in its conjunction with Jupiter, was essentially, here's the blueprint of the emotional reality. Learn from it. Look at it. look at the structure of the emotions, because Mercury tries to do that. It tries to look at A, B, C, D, finish the alphabet, you know. Mercury is really logical and antithetical to the subjective perception. So trying to blend emotions with reality connected to progress moving forward. And we may have really looked at some stuff like, okay, I can't really avoid this anymore. Every time I fall into said emotional trap, I get stuck. So, how can I really clean up certain coping mechanisms? Or how can I clean up the fear of being vulnerable in certain ways? And Jupiter's there, you know, getting our minds to open up to the emotional depths, because that's what Cancer is about. Cancer is everything we hold inside in a protective way and in a private way. There's a whole world within, and that's what Jupiter's about when it goes into Cancer. It's about the inner world, the inner landscape. So during this conjunction, we really may have tried to organize all the feels and communicate them. That's also another thing. Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, like, talk about this, talk about it. Really open up your mind to be able to take your insides and project them to other people's minds. So I don't know, maybe we would have had some pretty raw conversations. Maybe we've tried to have raw conversations and we see how people shut down under the pressure of vulnerability. So now this week, Jupiter is going to separate, or no, Mercury is going to separate from Jupiter. And it's almost the pressure of taking what we learned from that cycle of Mercury conjunct Jupiter and applying it. But here's the tricky part about that. Mercury is heading straight for a combustion phase with the Sun when it leaves the teamwork, I guess you could say, that it founded with Jupiter. A combustion in astrology is when a planet is 8 or less degrees away from the Sun. And you'd think it would really light up that planet to be by the Sun. You'd think that planet would warm up and really express itself because it's in the light of the Sun. But in astrology, combustion represents a washing out, where the qualities of that planet are weakened under the Sun's atmosphere, I guess. Like how Icarus. Oh, no, Icarus isn't Mercury, is he? What did Icarus do? Wait a second. See, I don't know myth very much myself. I was never big into the mythological aspect of astrology. I don't know why. What did Icarus do? Was he connected to communication? Wow, that's actually kind of dark. Icarus, or Icaros, a youth who attempted to escape from Crete with wings of wax and feathers, but flew so high that his wings melted from the heat of the sun, and he plunged to his death in the sea. That's so much darker than I remember. I remember Icarus having like such a big ego that he thought he could fly high and higher and higher. That's so weird. But this is saying Icarus was trying to escape. What was I saying? Oh, combustion. I'm so sorry. I derailed. A planet going combust, you'd think it would really open it up, but it kind of weakens it because, well, think about what happens when the sun gets in your eyes. You can't see and it really damages your vision. You'd think, oh, the sun It'll help me see more the closer it is, but it really just blinds you. Don't ever look at the sun, I've been told. It's a stupid joke. So what happens when Mercury goes combust? We sort of have our abilities for perception impacted. It's harder to be selective. It's harder to make decisions. It's harder to choose. So Mercury separating from Jupiter, Mercury leaves Jupiter and heads for this combustion. So this is difficulty navigating in certain ways. And as Mercury stumbles through Cancer, essentially, we can be distracted by our emotions. We can have a hard time balancing the inner and outer forces of reality that we've maintained. So yeah, that happens this week with Mercury. Selectivity, like what do I choose? I don't really know what the clear option is on certain things. And speaking of this facet of Mercury going combust, which happens on, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of this forecast that I've done. Mercury goes combust. It starts separating from Jupiter as soon as Monday. I hope this isn't too scrambled. I don't know. I'm a little unprepared for this today. So Mercury's leaving Jupiter. I forgot to say Jupiter's in Leo as it separates, but I'm still working with the Cancer energy because the conjunction happened when Jupiter was in Cancer. So I'm still looking at this separation through that lens. And as Mercury goes combust on around Wednesday-ish, the moon, which is Mercury's dispositor, travels through Aries, which to me signifies feeling external pressure to choose, feeling external pressure to resolve something so it can move forward. But there's this feeling of the doors being locked somehow. I got this impression of somebody fumbling a locked door. They're trying to open the door. Someone's standing next to them, like, open the freaking door, and all this. They're like yelling for the door to open. You can't yell at a doorknob and get it to turn, but this is the energy that I'm getting for this next week. So where do we feel doors are closed, and no matter how we try to find the key or the password or the code, they won't open? That is the sort of urgency we might sit with this week temporarily. And then something happens, which is cool. When the moon, which is Mercury's dispositor, it's kind of like a temporary ruler for Mercury. The moon goes from Aries, which is that external pressure that is not helpful for the internal pressure we may feel in our mind as Mercury retrogrades through Cancer. The moon goes from that pressured feeling to entering Taurus on Thursday. Or no, it enters Taurus late on Wednesday. So from Monday to Wednesday, we may feel that pressure of fumbling with a locked doorknob while the outer world is kind of rushing or pushing us to open the door, and we're like, I don't know where the key is, because that's Mercury in Cancer. It's a search for security and safety. And Mercury retrograde going combust the sun, it's like having trouble navigating in order to find a safe place is that energy. So once the moon goes into Taurus around Wednesday evening, that pressure, some of that pressure may get released, and there may be a feeling of finally making a decision to preserve what matters. So I think that is the energy the whole time, but being able to see what really matters may be the epiphany that pops through around Wednesday night-ish. And Taurus is about preservation and holding on to what really matters. So this could come with some fears of loss that need to be resolved through vulnerable communication, perhaps. And this could also stretch out to material security or stability, because Taurus is the material world. And we have the moon going conjunct with Uranus in Gemini later in the week. So while the moon's in Taurus, before it goes into Gemini, we're like, okay, I need to like slow down so I can make this decision, so I can select what I need to, because Mercury going combusted, it impacts our ability to select and choose and weigh things that are either beneficial or not. So while the moon is in Taurus, we might feel a little bit stabilized, like, okay, I might know which vantage point is the right one. And then the moon goes into Gemini on Saturday, which could bring inspiration for improvising or finding unpredictable solutions. It's going to be conjunct Uranus. So it's almost like the oddball solution is favored. Like, oh, I could do the predictable thing, or I could reach out and improvise and find the solution that people might think is weird, but you know. So that's kind of what I got from that. Let me go through and make sure I've said everything. This video feels very chaotic. I'm very sorry if it is. One more thing about Mercury going combust, how it might affect communication. So Mercury in Cancer, it's about vulnerable communication and needing to feel like we're really being heard in a way that is absorbed in a nurturing sense. So while Mercury retrogrades through Cancer and combusts the sun, our intentions may get distorted. We might try to talk to people in a way where we're seeking either nurturing or impact. This could also involve certain sentimental perspectives. We, from the bottom of our heart, are trying to communicate. The other side of the communication may be dismissive, like, oh, that's illogical. Why would you say that? Blah, blah, blah. And this is similar to what I was getting when I looked at Venus. And I made a video about it already, but distortion of our subjective experience being distorted from this is just your experience and I can honor it, to you're being illogical. How do you even make those connections? So weird connections being made also from what we're saying is possible. Okay, I think that's everything. So yeah, communicating may feel especially risky. I wanted to add that in there because the plight of Cancer, am I safe? Am I taking a risk that is going to lead to emotional turbulence? Is Cancer energy. That is everything, I think. I want to get into the cards. Let me get comfortable for this. Here's how this works. I just finished the transit talk. The transit talk is transitory. The transit's going to come, it's going to go, it'll stay in the past. Everything I just said, pretty much. The reading, henceforth, the intention is for it to be timeless. You could watch this whenever. And if it's meant for you, it will resonate. If not, it's okay. Just toss it, right? The questions that I'm going to ask the cards now are inspired by the transit. So it's like combining, it's turning the transit into a tarot spread, is basically the idea of this. I have 6 questions. Why did I do that? I might just do 3. I think I just wrote down a bunch and I'll just see what I feel like doing. Okay, let me find a deck to use. We'll use the Phantasma and clarify with some contrast via the Somnia. All right, so whoever is watching this, it's for you. Take everything with a grain of salt. This may or may not resonate. It's whatever. Okay, I'm going to shuffle and connect. Okay, let's get started. So here are the questions. You can pick one, listen to them all, or ignore everything. It's up to you, okay? Question 1. What highest good does your being vulnerable serve? So you're feeling as though, I mean, all of us have to open up in certain ways, especially with Mercury being in Cancer. We're all kind of pressured to resolve fear of opening up. So if you are vulnerable with people, what highest good is it serving? Question 2. What in your life can you resolve even if you feel it's defeating you? Because Mercury is about problem solving, and Cancer is the fear of being too vulnerable. Question 3. How does the structure of certain relationships nourish you? Question 4, what emotional truth is ready for you to process? So not just hear, but also process and find clarity wherein. How is your vulnerability currently being received? How can you clear communication blocks? Is question 6. So let's start with question 1. What highest good does your being vulnerable serve? We got 5 of Cups. Oh my goodness. 5 of Cups is being able to look at the benefits versus what is lost. So there is a lot of processing fear of loss here. What highest good does being vulnerable serve? Connected to 5 of Cups. Being vulnerable in a 5 of Cups sense. Being able to feel everything so that you know what to choose is what this says to me. You may be at a point where you recognize that ignoring feelings in pursuit of positivity is not helping you choose. 5 of Cups is about choosing what you have left. So there's fear of loss being remedied by facing the truth of fear, facing the truth of feeling everything. 5 of Cups is all about emotional vision. So if you're vulnerable, you can clear your emotional vision to where you can see what you have left. Because here's the thing about 5 of Cups, every time in all of these decks, all she has to do is turn around, and it's like being able to find the blessings. So if you're being selective with emotional experience for fear of pain, there's something here about letting it unfold so that you can turn around to find what is still there. I hope that makes sense. It's like Oh, here's an image that's coming through. It's like a panorama where you see more storm imagery. I was getting storm imagery and metaphors yesterday. This panorama, maybe we'll use junk for this. Hear me out. I know it sounds weird. We're going to use junk. Here's what I'm seeing. A panorama. Part of the scene is this beautiful nature-y or whatever scene would be beautiful to you. And then you pan around. Part of the scene also is a junkyard. It stinks. It's like junky, and there's garbage and undesirable stuff everywhere. But it's all part of the same scene. So it's like being afraid of the junkyard and wanting to avoid it in order to inhabit the beauty in the scene. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe, yeah, part of accepting the scenery is being like, oh, okay, it's all part of the same thing. Now, I think this metaphor is stupid in a lot of ways, but there it is. I hope it helps in some way. I don't want to pick it apart too much. Question 2. What in your life can you resolve, even if you feel it's defeating you right now? 6 of Cups, past associations, trust from the past, sharing. This is kind of heavy. Sharing things that others don't understand or they ignore. There's like this fear of sharing effervescence. Something looks solid to you, and maybe to someone else it looks like smoke that's just billowing. And there's like a dead stare that I'm getting from this llama, I guess. I see this as like extending yourself in the past to share something very sentimental or important, and somebody else just looking through you like, okay, good for you, nice. There's that like kind of vibe coming through this. There's also fear of favoritism. I don't know if my perception is distorted on this card based on what's coming through, because I see like this llama is cuddling up and ignoring the offering that she's giving. It's like she's in discomfort, sharing, offering, and the other 3 beings are just cuddling cozy, like whatever. So resolving this fear of exclusion when you share, when you offer. There's a fear of that dead stare, like, so, okay, nice. It's not being defeated by that interaction. Okay, we're going to clarify these and get more information. Question 3. How does the structure of certain relationships nourish you? Whatever relationship is applicable. Justice. Wow. Wisdom and figuring out how to balance and how to clear connections. So relationships are nourishing your ability to balance and see clearly. Justice in this card is about balancing wisdom. We have these little baby beings here at the bottom that are climbing. Interesting. So that's telling me something about being able to hold on even though you feel vulnerable. Teaching you strength, learning strength, having your strength nourished through being able to determine what's fair and how certain fairness operates. So your perception is being nourished in some way. Your perception of right and wrong, your perception of negotiating and learning through wisdom. Who's going to give you what? What's going to be fair? What can be eliminated? And it starts with that feeling of vulnerability that's coming through here, where they are very blobby looking baby things, but they're equipped. One of them has a sword. The other one has a big ass crystal. So learning what to do, oh, that's interesting too. Learning how to fight when necessary so that you don't feel overly vulnerable. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let me see. What else? What emotional truth is ready for you to process? We got Knight of Cups reversed. Navigation, again with the offering of your heart. Goes with this. What happens when you offer your heart? Where do you end up? So there's a resolution of the fear of where you're going to end up if you share your heart. Knight of Cups reverse. He's very open emotionally. He has no fear of being that romantic, sensitive, here's how I feel type character. Reversed, though, he blocks his progress emotionally. He blocks the trajectory for fear of shedding light on how he feels. He's afraid of other people's bitterness and other people's lack of appreciation for sentiments and purity of heart. That's what this is, too. Purity of heart is being reclaimed. Oh, is that what this is, too, with these little baby beings? Where it's like you've had to learn how to fight and maintain your innocent purity type vibe. Learning how to not cloud relationships with fear, essentially, while also knowing how to defend yourself. So defensiveness that doesn't taint purity is what you may be learning. Knight of Cups reversed. You may be ready to process all the ways in which you've blocked your perception or your heart or your sentiments, or how others have done that to you, is what it feels like more so. One more, or no, two more, oh my gosh. Question 5. How is your vulnerability currently being received? Wow, we have awakening. I think that's judgment. Waking people up when you're vulnerable, it's like a plot twist. Wow, there's a lot going on here. This creature in the card is becoming the elements, or the elements exude from it. That's interesting imagery. The elements exude from this creature. Therefore, what is exuding from this creature makes the environment hospitable. There's something about that. Hold up. All right, I got a little interrupted, but it's fine. So, looking at this imagery, still, something about the elements exuding from this character in the card. It's like something exuding from you is rendering environments hospitable. maybe the fear is letting something exude that's going to ruin everything. Like if you've done the Cancerian thing of building an environment that keeps you safe emotionally, there could be a fear of exuding something that disrupts the balance. But there's something here about relationships not being hospitable unless you exude whatever's trying to come through, and thus waking people up to what's needed. Yeah, vulnerability teaches people what is needed in certain environments or situations. Last question, and then we'll clarify. How can you clear communication blocks? 5 of Pentacles. Wow. Communicating about scarcity, in this together. Wow, so that would be like letting certain people back in with discretion. Use your discernment. That's what this feels like, though. Like certain people feeling left out to a certain extent, and the only way to communicate with them is to help them feel included so that resolutions can be had. Because this image, it's very, we're in this together kind of imagery. So there's certain communication blocks coming from possibly people feeling left out. There's no solution without inclusion. I'm going to clarify these now. Using the Somnia. Okay. Okay, start with this 5 of Cups here. Move this Cuda. There we go. Oh, I might need that screen though. Oh my gosh. All right, 5 of Cups was answering the question, what highest good does being vulnerable serve at this time? We got Ace of Pentacles, establishing worth and value for maybe the first time in certain situations. So being able to accept the ugliness of certain environments, states of being, the ugliness within certain things that make you sad at times is a path toward initiating worth, value, groundedness. Then the Magician, yeah, it's to harness something pretty potent here and having ability recognized. The Magician's like, I could do it all. I can draw from everything and everywhere. I'm everywhere at once. There's like an omnipotence. The Magician has power over things that seem unsolvable. And there's something about getting to that place by getting the emotional perspective that leads you to being able to turn around and be like, oh, that's right there. Okay, I'll use it. Okay. Then, yep, Ace of Wands. Something important being initiated on the inner and outer levels, the everywhere and the in-between. That almost sounds like it's trying to go into a Michael Scott rant. That. Anyway, something potent coming through, the acceptance of certain things around you that you might fear will overtake the beauty that you're currently building. You're building something beautiful. Okay, 6 of Cups now was Six of Cups was answering the question, what in your life can you resolve even if you feel as though it's defeating you? And we got the Six of Cups, which was like people's attitudes toward what you share and how open you are and things like that. Okay, clarified by Five of Cups. What? Oh my gosh. This same exact thing of being afraid that the ugly will eclipse the beautiful. Yeah, these go together. All of these three here. So that tells me there's no need to be afraid of the discomfort eclipsing comfort. Oops, this goes. Then it's followed by Nine of Swords reversed. What you fear doesn't come true. So if you have something that's very sentimental or pure that you're wanting to share and you fear reaction or you fear aloofness, they're saying what you fear doesn't always come true the way you think it does. Don't be afraid of other people's inability to see what you're offering at times. They have limited bandwidth. Queen of Cups reversed. Yeah, the flow from the heart is blocked because you're sensitive to aloofness. Yeah, people's expression as you share things. Then we're going to move on to Justice, which was answering the question, how does the structure of certain relationships nourish you? We got something about teaching a balance between self-defense and fairness, like structuring those themes, clarified by Five of Wands, conflict. How can you be pure even in a state of conflict is what that says to me. And here it is again, this energy of like someone coming at your light and being a snuffer. There's a fear of that. Queen of Wands reversed. Yep. There's the candles again in the background here. So shrinking oneself. This is a weird message. There's a method of shrinking yourself that is part of negotiating in conflict that doesn't shrink who you are. There's a way to compromise. Going back to these little things again, it's kind of funny. Because Queen of Wands reversed, she shrinks herself in sort of toxic ways at times. Stubbornness to shed light on certain things is Queen of Wands reversed. So there's compromises that can be made in times of conflict that present cooperation, self-sacrifice without draining you. I don't know how to explain this fully. Shrinking without shrinking. Being adaptable in conflict in a way that doesn't change who you are. Okay. It's like self-preservation mixed with cooperation. There's a major balancing out of those. There's the Lovers. Wow. So learning what relationships act as a container for you to fit into without diminishing or distinguishing your attributes. So certain relationships can be a container for us to learn flexibility and vulnerability, which does change our shape in certain ways, while other relationships are a container that we have to really shove ourselves into and dim ourselves. And yeah, it's It's learning what relationships are a good container. Almost done. Knight of Cups reversed was answering the question, what emotional truth is ready for you to process? King of Pentacles, capability, material progress, okay? Five of Swords, emotional truth connected to King of Pentacles. Kind of throwing me off here. Knight of Cups reversed was the fear of revealing emotional states. So King of Pentacles is stabilizing the ability to share. So being able to share in ways that doesn't make you feel incapable or make you feel like you're giving too much away, because King of Pentacles knows who to give what. And it's in a sense where he focuses on staying very grounded, very very matter of fact. And then Five of Swords, it's like arming yourself. So let's see. We have strength. So Knight of Cups, I'm struggling a little bit with this. Knight of Cups reverse, fear of revealing too much at the wrong times. King of Pentacles, clarifying. Oh gosh, hold on. This is a block. I feel blocked from this. this is horrible. Let's see. Strength. I'm gonna pull some of these, see what pops out. King of Pentacles is the builder. He's watching everything be constructed. Okay, the imagery sometimes helps. So watching things being built and being constructed, being responsible. Okay, let's keep clarifying. Let's try throwing a card on top of this King of Pentacles. Manipulation of building. So, okay, this makes more sense. So if you have learned not to reveal too much because it impedes your progress, you're ready to process the ways in which you've been avoiding manipulation in the architecture of what you're building. So not being swayed in your ability as an architect of whatever you're striving for, not being swayed just because you're ready to be vulnerable in certain respects. We have flattery. Wow. Learning the difference between manipulation and flattery. One more. Egotism. Okay, so this is another layer of this being afraid to reveal too much to people because it either resulted in manipulation or flattery. Oh, like, good for you. Like, not authentic encouragement is what it feels like. That's what this is. So, fear of inauthentic encouragement. Here comes the King of Pentacles atop this fear to say that you can build regardless of who's encouraging you or not. Because King of Pentacles doesn't really need that emotional support as much in his progress. Hopefully that makes sense. Not that he doesn't need it, but it's harder to manipulate the King of Pentacles with emotional stances. So emotional perception is not the threat in the face of building, is going through all that just to say that. Okay, almost done. Awakening card was answering the question, how is your vulnerability currently being received? Okay, we got Three of Pentacles. People learning how to work with you because of what you exude. So there's this fear of what you're exuding that keeps coming up. Like, does my natural state bring obstacles, or can I relax and produce what comes naturally? That's kind of the dichotomy here. So people learning to work with your natural state of what you're exuding, perhaps. There's the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, you're making the environment hospitable by not holding back, possibly. Big era of nurture without over compromising. Yep. Nine of Pentacles. Wow. That's cool. Don't hold back, man. Or lady, don't hold back. Five of Pentacles was answering the question, how can you clear communication blocks? And we got something about being inclusive. There's certain people you may have had to put up boundaries with, and the only way to communicate with them now is to sort of accept something. And we clarify that with Nine of Cups. Yeah. Resolving unhappiness that came from previous boundaries. Justice reversed. Maybe you're ready to let certain walls down. And we have, Ace of Cups. The past is separate from now in that way of like, maybe certain people are ready to be worked with emotionally when before you had to put that wall up. Okay. I hope any of this made sense. Sorry if it didn't. I'm gonna end this here. This was a very chaotic video. I apologize. Thank you for watching, and hope this finds you well. All right, everybody. Bye.